All right, we're live. All right, hello everyone. Thank you for joining me for today's webinar. I'm preparing for the first day of class. My name is Shriver Hasbrook, and I'm a member of the training and support team here at Hawks Learning. So the focus of today's webinar will be on creating sections by copying from an existing one in order to help get prepared for a new semester. Now, as we go through, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat feature, and I will get to these at the end. Now, as always, all of us on the training support team are more than happy to meet with you individually through online meetings. So if you are wanting any one-on-one help after this, or you had any questions that came up afterwards, please feel free to reach out to your designated training support representative. So as we begin, right here at the home screen that you'll see whenever you log into your gradebook, and I'm going to go over to the Tools tab here to begin. So one of the things that we recommend that you do at the end of every semester is archiving your gradebooks. So what this will do is take a snapshot of all of the grades that you have from your previous semester and save them. This means that after a student transfers out of the class, or if you clear out that section, you will always have a record of those grades. Now, to archive the gradebook, all you have to do is click right here, and then go in and give it a quick name. So it's always nice to put in a name just so you know this is what I was archiving this for. So for this example, this is going to be the Fall 2019 archive. So I'm not going to do this right now because it does take a second to go through an archive. But once you have archived it, you can go down here to View Archived Gradebooks, and you'll be able to see your previously archived gradebooks. One thing I will note, if you do have a class that is still going on, you may want to wait until the end just so you have the last grades that were in there and you know they're fully correct and up to date. So once you have that done, we can begin by going into Manage Sections here, and this is where we will start creating your new section. So you can see in here I have one section that was for this fall, and what we're going to do is create a new section and copy most of our settings from here. So to create a new section, we just have to go over here to Add New Section up at the top. I'll click here, and we'll go through and give it a name. So I'm going to name this section our Mat 097, and we'll call this Section 2 for the spring 2020. All right, then we can put in some meeting times. I'll delete these out. And then we just need to put a start and end date. Now, one of the things to remember about the start and end dates for a class is that these are going to bookend your section. So what this means is it puts a start and an end, and this allows your students to request temporary access. So from the date that you put here on the start date, which I will put in as January 13th, that is when students can start to request temporary access. And once they do, they're going to have 2 weeks from that date to request access, and after that they'll have 20 days of temporary access. So I'll also put in down here an end date. I'll go ahead and put this to May 4th. So a couple of the other settings here which we will recommend using, if I check off all of these two right here, what this will do is prevent students from coming in with any assignments that were completed before this date. Then down here under section end date, I'm going to check off these right here. And from here, they're going to not be able to do any assignments after this date. Sorry, I looked over, I saw a question come in. Thank you for that. Keep them coming. I'll get to them as soon as we get through. And then the last one here is assignments that have not been completed will have a grade set to 0 after this date. So you just need to check this off right here, and this will zero out any incomplete assignments. All right. So now that we have these basic settings created, we can copy from our previous section. So I'm going to go over here on the right side, and you can see all these templates that are blank, and this is what will get filled in when we copy it. So I'll select the section, and I only have my one from the fall right here. I'll select it, and the first thing it'll ask you to do is copy basic settings. So these are all these settings that we already put in. So for this instance, we're going to click No. Where you would want to click Yes would be if you've already created this section and you have another one that's on the same date, and you just want to copy it over and have all the same templates and all these same settings, and then maybe just change it from section 2 to 3. So that's where you would want to use this yes option right here. But for this one, we're going to click no. So you can now see that all of these templates have been copied over, and there's a few that I'm not using here, but you can see for the rest of them, they're all put in there. So I'm going to save our changes now. All right, and we can see that we have both of our sections here now. One thing I will mention that if your section is over and you want to go ahead and hide this section from the fall, you can just click right here, the checkbox to the left of the name, and then just click Hide Sections up at the top or down at the bottom. So I'll click there, and you can now see that this is not visible to students. And what this will do is that when your students are getting ready to enroll in the spring, they will not see that section listed if it's still there. All right. So now that that's done, I'm going to go over to the Assignments tab and show you a few of the things that you'll have to adjust when you are copying them over. All right, so I click that up here. And the first area we're going to go into is this lesson due dates. All right, so you can see that we have both of our sections here, and they're sharing the same template right now. There's a few different ways that you can go about adjusting these templates for your due dates for the fall, or for the spring, I mean. First is, if your class is over and you just want to use this exact same template, you can go in to this class and adjust all the dates to the spring, and then just change the name to Spring 2020. So you can do that. Another way that you could do this is to just start from scratch. Click right here, choose No Due Date Template Assigned, and then go in and create a whole new template. However, what I'm going to go through today is how we can copy this template and use that to create our spring template and still have this fall template available if you ever wanted to go back to reference it. So what we're going to do is click Manage by Template up here at the top. So this will be available on any of the areas that you will see templates, and you will see all of the templates that you have access to. So right here, here's my fall template that we had created for those lesson due dates. So I'm going to check the box to the left of the name, and I'm going to choose Copy Selected Items. So now that that's done, you'll see that there's now a copy of this template from fall 2019. So I'll click into there, and this is my full due date template from the fall. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and rename this so I'm not getting confused between the two. And I'll just highlight this and delete it out, and then I'll put in Spring 2020. I'll go ahead and save these changes. So now we have a separate template that we can use for the spring, but all these dates are still for the fall. So what we'll do is use the Shift Multiple Due Dates tool. So I'll click this here, and you'll see it has a quick few-step process to go get us through. Now, if you're shifting all the dates out from the fall to the spring, what you'll want to do is select the first date that assignments were due in the fall. So right here we can see it's 8/25. So I'm going to click the little calendar icon right here, and I'm going to go back to August. You can see right here, the 25th. So I'll select that, and it will highlight all of the assignments that this will affect. And you can see here, this is all the ones that I have assigned. So the next step is to choose the new due date. And this is going to be where you want the due date to be from based on the previous one. So this will be the first date that assignments are going to be due for the spring, and all the other dates are going to get shifted and be the same distance apart based on the assignments you already have here. So I'll show you what that will do here, and I'll click on the calendar, and I'm going to select our first date that assignments are due. So I'm going to say the 19th right here. And this will shift all of our dates out by 147 days. So this will shift it from all of them from the fall to the spring. I'll just click Go. So you can see here now we have all of these due dates that are assigned out for the spring semester. Now, one thing I'll mention is that many of these are not going to be exactly where you want them because the fall doesn't always line up exactly like the spring does. But it's going to be a lot easier to use this as a starting point as opposed to having to move each one 3, 4, 5 months ahead. So this will make it so you might just need to adjust it by a day or two, and you can do that by just clicking on the calendar icon and then choosing the new date. So I'm going to save my changes here. And then what I'm going to do is go back to the assignments here, and I'm going to go back to lesson due dates. So even though we created that template, it is not automatically assigned to that section that we created. So we need to go over here under this drop-down and choose the new due date template. So for this one, it is spring 2020. So I'll click there, and I'm just going to save changes. Here we go. All right, so you can see now that we have our fall section with our fall due dates and our spring section with our spring due dates. So I'll go back here to assignment. And the next area I'll want to go into is the web tests. So for web tests, clicking right here, you'll be able to see all of your assignments that you have created. One thing to note, when you do copy sections, this is going to copy over all of your web tests that you had assigned to that section with those same due dates. And what we'll need to do then is shift these out to the spring semester. Best way to do this is going to be to go to View by Section, and you'll see your two sections here. I'll select my spring 2020, and then I'll want to go to General Settings here. So what this will do is it will load up all of our web tests that were assigned in the fall, and you'll see the due dates here. So you can easily adjust these to the spring semester by just clicking forward and putting the new dates in. So you can copy and paste the dates here, and I'm just going to fill all these out so that they're in the spring and just assign some dates to them. So I'll put in here, and this is where you can just click through and choose the new dates you want these to be assigned. And the last one, I'll put my final exam that I have here, and I'll put it in May on that final day that we set for the class. I'm just going to copy and paste these over here. And then we can just save changes. So all of your assignment groups, all of your test times, start and end dates, end times, all of those will be copied over. The big one that you'll want to make sure you're checking are these dates and these times as well, and making sure they're fitting for your new semester. All right, so I'm going to go back to assignments. And a couple of the other areas that you may want to look at are the other assignments and the course materials. So for these, you might have put in semester-specific assignments. So if you have put any of those in, you will need to go in and make those adjustments as well, because all of those will be copied when you set up the new section. All right, so those were the last ones I wanted to go through, just to make sure that you're all set up for the spring or for whatever semester you're copying these over for. So I'm going to look over, and I see we have a couple questions here. So first one, is it 20 days from the date they request temporary access or the start date? So that's a great question. So I'll go back here, and what she was talking about is when I set up the section, I was pointing out that the start date is when they can begin to request temporary access. And that is going to be 20 days from the date they request. So they'll have the time to request the date, those 2 weeks, but then whenever they request, they have the time from then. It's not based on the start date. All right, and then let's see here. The next question, so should I delete my old sections? Yeah, so I did not go over that, so I'll show you how this would be done. If you're wanting to delete sections, you can. One thing to note, this might not be allowed by your institution, and it could be something that you want to hold on to sections for a few semesters and make sure you always have them in there. And that's where I was showing just this, showing the making it invisible to students so they won't see it. If you are wanting to delete a section, you just need to check it off in here under where I was in Tools and Manage Sections, and then you just delete the section. One thing though, if you're not sure if it is fine to do, it's always best to check with your coordinator chair, make sure that you can go ahead and clear these out. Yeah. All right, so next question I see here. So will copying sections also copy those assignment groups? Yeah, so I did touch on those, and so that's a great question. So I'll go back here to grade settings, and I'll show you the assignment groups. So if I go down here to grade settings and then assignment groups, you'll see here we have the Math 097 section Spring 20, and all of these are copied over. They're the same as this fall. So all of that gets copied over as well. Even though it's not a template, it's still copied when you're choosing that new section. All right. So that is all the questions that I see right now. So thank you all for joining us on this webinar today. As I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions that we didn't get to, or if you would just like any one-on-one time to maybe get help you get set up, please feel free to reach out to your designated training and support representative. We are always more than happy to help.